Braintree Sandbox. In this video, we're going to cover signing up for a Braintree Sandbox account, taking a look at the docs, and setting up a sample server and mobile app that accept credit card payments and process them through Braintree. So to get started with the Braintree Sandbox, just head over to braintreepayments.com and click the links to try the sandbox. Fill out the form. You shouldn't need any bank accounts or anything like that. And follow the links through the emails to log in to the Braintree control panel. Since all we want to do is set up our server and our sample mobile app, let's just jump over to the accounts section where we can find our authorizations. Click account and go to my user. Then scroll down the page until you find a button that says view authorizations. Here, you can create new API keys and tokenization keys. So we're going to start with generating a new API key. I'm going to delete this after this tutorial, so don't bother using any of this information. And we're also going to create a new tokenization key. The tokenization key is going to be used for our mobile app, and the API key is going to be used for our Ruby server. Let's label our new tokenization key with Braintree Sticker Store. It's active, so let's just save it. And then let's view our API keys, and here we can copy them so we can put them into a new Ruby app. There's a little handy button in the upper left hand corner to select your language. We're going to pick Ruby and copy this. Again, don't bother using this information. Before anything else, let's get familiar with the Braintree docs. You can find these from the control panel or just search for them. From here, you'll be able to find a full tutorial and code snippets, including code snippets for the client, including drop-in and anything else you need, and all of the server languages, including Ruby, which we will be using for this tutorial. And lastly, testing. This will include nonces, credit card numbers, and anything else we need for sandbox testing. So let's get started with a new Rails app. I just created a new Rails 5 app, totally vanilla, and we're going to add Braintree to it. So open up the gem file, and following the docs, all we need to do is add Braintree. And I think as of writing this, we want to use 272. Save that and jump out and bundle install. Great. So now we have Braintree. Next, we need to add that API key from earlier in the control panel. So I still have it in the clipboard. Let's open up config, environments, development. We'll just add this here for now. Put it in the bottom, paste it in, and save it. Since this is a new Rails app, let's create a new controller called Payments and add an action called checkout. This is going to be used to accept post requests from our mobile app and to transact sales against them using the Braintree nonces. So with that done, let's edit this controller to accept these post requests and transact against them. Now we'll just paste in a code snippet from the docs. This is pretty much what the docs have, along with some error handling and response handling towards the end. But let's go over this really quick. We're going to take the nonce that we get in the post request. This is basically the payment information, and we're going to create a transaction with that. We're going to hard code $10 and just add some information in here that's pretty stock from the docs, and then we're going to set up a JSON response, print out some error handling, and with this done we can save it. And we still need to do one more thing. We need to edit our routes and change this to a post. So let's do that really quick. Alright, now it's a post, and we'll save it. And before we can do anything else, just for the sake of testing, we're going to disable the protect from forgery setting here, since this is a new Rails app and this is just a demo. And we'll start our Rails server. So now let's test our new route. We're going to create a post request with our payment method nonce set to some nonce. This shouldn't work. Yeah, so that didn't work because that's not a valid nonce. Taking a look at the testing docs, we can see that there is a nonce that works called fake valid nonce. So let's use that instead. And this should work. There it is. Our server is running. We're going to be working with a sample iOS app written in Swift 3. Our app is pretty simple. It's just showing a generic checkout screen with an item, a title, and price, and a button to select a payment method. When you click this button, it's just going to show an alert that says select payment method. Let me walk you through the code really quick here. We're just going to set up our view here at the top. Then we have a handler for our button, and we have some stub methods here for showing an alert and for hitting our Rails app. So to integrate Braintree into our iOS app, we need to update our pod file. So let's do that really quick, and we're going to be using Braintree's drop-in. So following the instructions from the docs, we just need to add pod Braintree drop-in. Save that, and then run pod install. So jumping back to our app, we now need to import Braintree drop-in and Braintree into our view controller. So with that done, let's go back to the docs and grab the snippet to show drop-in. We should be able to just copy and paste this in. It takes an authorization string and then shows drop-in. And let's walk through this code really quick after I paste it in. We're going to be making an empty request up here at the top. It's just default. And and creating a new BT drop-in controller and presenting it. Let's also update our button handler to call this method. We need one more thing. Remember back in the control panel we created that tokenization key? Let's copy and paste it here. Okay, so with that done, we should now be ready to show drop-in. Let's build really quick and test it out. So when we click our button, we're going to call show drop-in with our tokenization key, and there it is. We haven't wired up any of the handling, so let's just see if we can dismiss this. Clicking cancel to close the card form, and cancel here to hide the payment selection screen. Great. Now let's update this callback to make use of the drop-in result. So I've updated the callback a bit, and we're now going to be storing the payment method nonce in an instance variable, and we're going to show both the icon and the payment method description in a new stack view controller and presenting that. So you can see here we're creating a new stack view controller. We're going to be showing both the icon and the text, and we're going to update our button. Instead of making a new button, I'm just going to update our current one to say buy now. And up here in our button handler, we're going to be checking to see if we have a payment method nonce already, and if we do, we're going to send that transaction to, or that nonce to our server with our stubbed method from earlier. So let's try it out. So here we need to go back to our testing docs. Don't enter a real credit card number in Sandbox. Use the sample credit card numbers. I'm going to use our sample Visa card number, 4 with a bunch of 1s, and any valid expiration date. Click Add Card, and you can see that we are now displaying the icon and description. Our button is also updated, so let's click that, and we should show an alert with our successful response. And here's our transaction ID. Let's make note of that and jump to our control panel. So back in the control panel, we can now see that we have a nice little graph here with our transactions. We can see some from our curl requests earlier, and these last ones from our iOS app. If you click transactions over here, we can dive a little deeper. Scroll down, just leave everything here as a default, and click search, and you'll be able to see a list of the individual transactions. Here you can see our transaction that we just created, and everything looks correct. Dive in and you can see all the details.